We don't have a masculinity problem in this country. We have a cowardice problem. Men are afraid to lead. They are afraid of sacrifice. They are afraid of discipline, and they are afraid of spiritual responsibility. And when men become afraid, families suffer, communities collapse, and darkness fills the vacuum. In today's society, masculinity is mocked, is diluted, and is apologized for. Men are told to be gentle way before they're told to be strong. They're told to be agreeable before they're told to be disciplined, and they're told to be passive and to avoid conflict. The result of all of this, men are out of shape, they're undisciplined sexually, they're emotionally unstable or numb, and they're spiritually disconnected. God never called men to be cowards. God called men to be warriors for their families, warriors for their community, and warriors for God's kingdom. If you don't believe me, I have a Bible verse that I want you to see. I'm going to read this because one thing I want us to think about is this statement here. God called men to be warriors with resistance, purpose, and obedience. And so here, let me read this so that you know what I'm talking about. This is in Deuteronomy chapter 20, verses 1 through 4. It says, when you go out to war against your enemies and see horses, chariots, and an army larger than yours, do not be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, is with you. When you are about to engage in battle, the priest is to come forward and address the army. He is to say to them, listen, Israel, today you are about to engage in battle with your enemies. Do not be afraid. Do not be cowardly. Do not be alarmed or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to give you victory. When we look at a verse like that and we try to figure out how does it apply to our lives, as men, we have to stop and realize who God is calling us to be. In this verse, we see Israel being spoken to as they are preparing to go to war. One thing that they see for sure is that there are armies that are bigger than their own. The enemy always looks bigger than you. The enemy could have larger horses, larger chariots, and everything that you can think about when it comes to war, especially in the times that they were in. But are you going to be afraid? Are you going to be a coward? Are you going to be one who is passive and avoids conflict in your life? God's command is not to be confident in yourself in this verse. It's also not to pretend like it's not a scary situation to be in. Let's be real. If you see an army of 1,000 people and they have large guns and they have tanks and everything of that nature coming towards you, you're going to be afraid a little bit. But God says don't look and be a coward and just run away and act like the problem isn't there. God's command in this verse is very clear. It's do not be afraid. Do not be a coward, because he goes with you in battle. And now, let me clarify a few things. When I say, it says being afraid or being fearful is a normal human experience. It's an emotion that humans experience at times. Being a coward means that you allow that emotion to over-consume you or to consume you in that regard. So the idea is to not allow the fear to consume you. So in that regard, it's saying don't be afraid, don't be a coward. You might feel that feeling, but that doesn't mean that you can't go into battle. I think about myself. I fight and I spar a lot of times, and when I spar against an amateur fighter or a professional fighter or somebody like that who's trained longer than me, there's always this sense of fear that goes on. Anytime I compete and I'm like, man, I wonder if the person that I'm fighting against is better than me, I always have this sense of fear, but I don't let that fear consume me. I let it give me fuel. And so I don't be a coward. I step into the ring and I give it everything that I have with all of my strength and everything that I know that I can do. That is what God is calling us to do. So here's something to remember. Fear is natural, but being a coward is a choice. Don't be a coward. As God is preparing the men for war, he lets them know a couple things. Preparation happens before the fight, and weak men don't prepare, but warriors do. So if you want to walk and be a warrior, you have to be in a position where you are prepared for the fight before the fight even comes. You also have to understand that the fight is already here. And if you are not ready for that fight, then you will not be ready to go to war as it is presenting itself in today's society. Now listen, I think as men, we know that there is a war against masculinity that is happening. There is also a gender war happening between men and women that I am completely against. There is red pill content that uplifts masculinity, but sometimes in an unhealthy way. And then there are, I'd say, the complete opposite end of hyperfeminism that is solely and purely hatred towards men in any and every regard. And I think that is a problem on both ends. If we land on too far ends of the spectrum, it is a problem that I think we have to deal with. Today, strength is labeled as toxic, oppressive. It's also labeled as dangerous. And some of these things don't necessarily make sense. And I say that because if we go into war, if America happens to have to go to war, you're going to want strong men to go into battle with other nations. Why is that? Because other nations are going to have their strongest men going into battle. Your wives, women want men who are strong, who they feel protected by. They don't necessarily want men who can't protect them. And that's just a natural reality. If you are in a situation and you're walking with your girlfriend, your wife, or whatever it may be, and something happens to them and you can do absolutely nothing to protect, one, your lady, your girlfriend, whatever, she's going to feel some type of way. And not only is she going to feel some type of way, you're also going to feel some type of way because as a man, you weren't able to protect as you should. You were not prepared for the fight as you should have been. And that is what society is creating, men who are not prepared for the fight. Masculinity is not toxic. We don't have to put healthy in front of masculinity because masculinity in and of itself, when it is cultivated by other men who are strong, who are disciplined, who are full of courage, then there is no other added words you have to put before masculinity because it is what it is. It is strong. It is, in a lot of cases, it is dangerous because there is a level of violence that comes with being a masculine man. And when you think about being a warrior, that also is the same case because warriors have to go to war. They have to be able to be violent. If you're not capable of violence in any way, you're just a harmless man. And so those are some distinctions to think through and process through. A lot of modern ideologies that are happening, they don't want strong men. They want men to just be compliant with everything that is happening with the world. And as a man, we need to be able to be strong and to have our own position. And it happens on both sides of the spectrum, honestly. This happens in some red pill spaces. If you don't 100% agree with everything that somebody on the podcast says, then you're called a simp or you're called a beta or whatever it may be. You have some men who have this ideology of what it means to be an alpha and things of that nature. And then you have some women who are on the opposite end, and they're just like, if you listen to anything on the red pill side or the manosphere side, then you are toxic and a bunch of other jargon. And so people just want you to be compliant with their viewpoints. I believe as a man that you have to become comfortable with knowing what you believe and hold to the truth that you are deciding to believe in, not because somebody tells you that you have to, but because you've researched, because you've studied, because these are things that you live out and principles that you actually hold to and not just something that somebody else is telling you. Far too often, men are conditioned to just sit down, be quiet, and apologize for being a man. And that is something I am completely against. I refuse to apologize for being strong. I refuse to apologize for the fact that when I walk into the room, my presence is felt because I am a strong and masculine man in that regard. I speak very firmly, but I'm also very gentle. I have 3 daughters who taught me how to control my firmness so that there is firmness, but there's also high levels of gentleness and emotional wellness and emotional control and things of that nature. But a lot of men, you're just taught to sit down and follow instructions. And honestly, I think that is a bad position for a man to be in. Yes, you want to learn how to follow instructions as when when it's permitted, and you need to be following instructions as a man, but society just wants you to just bow down. And I feel like that is a problem that we have to move away from as men. The order for manhood is completely backward. Men are taught to be gentle before they're taught to be strong. And I think that is a problem. When I see little boys growing up, little boys, I personally believe, need to roughhouse. They need to run around. They need to get hurt. They need to play fight. They need to rumble. They need to tumble. They need to feel these things. This is why we need men in the homes, 2-parent households. We need fathers being fully present with their young boys, with their children in general. But we have to realize that young boys need that roughness. And then as they get and gain that roughness, we teach gentleness when it comes to like young girls, when they're with their sisters, their little sisters, or their sisters in general, or other girls and things of that nature. Then you teach them gentleness. Hey, we can't play rough with her. You can't do these things on this side. You can't play rough with mommy. You can play rough with daddy. That's how we start to teach gentleness. We don't go out and just be like, oh, you have to teach your sons how to be gentle and this and that and the third. Oh, no, those things come over time. We don't have to hyper-emphasize teaching our sons to be gentle and emotionally intelligent and things of that nature. Those things happen and grow and are cultivated over time. Because when our son, like if your son is rumbling and tumbling, falling, he hurts himself, that's a perfect opportunity to teach him how to be strong, but also emotionally connected and aware. Hey, it's okay to cry. You just hurt yourself. But let's take some deep breaths. Let's gain control, because life is going to be full of pain. It's going to be full of hurt. And so we have to be teaching our sons. We have to be teaching young men how to be men. And men have to be strong. And that's just point blank. Being strong does not mean emotionally unstable and emotionally unhealthy. And even if you look at a biblical model of some of these things, strength comes first. After strength comes for young men, then you have the gentleness. It's the same concept of what I was talking about when it comes to just nurturing a young boy. That strength component should and must always come first, because young boys, they operate a lot better under duress in some regard. And what I mean is that, like I said, young boys, they like to get flipped, tossed, turned. They like to play fight. They like to get rowdy. For the large majority of young boys, there is a small percentage of young boys who probably don't. And I've worked with a lot of young boys, and I had to learn that not all young boys like that. But what I also learned is that these young boys have grown up in environments with majority women or women-led, or they grew up in an environment where gentleness was taught and pushed first before strength. So they become 10, 11, 12, and they don't necessarily have a concept of pain. They don't like to work hard. They don't like to physically get hit or hurt in any regard. So those are the areas where I'm like, no, we need to teach strength first, again, and then gentleness. It comes all at the same time in a lot of regards, but there has to be clarity and separation between the two. As men get older, then you start to, young boys, I should say, they get older, then we have to realize that strength, that a man without strength, you can't protect, you can't lead, and you can't sacrifice. If you don't have any strength, again, if somebody is coming up to you, and let's take a scenario, you're walking with your lady and you're walking with your children, a man comes up to you and they are trying to harass your lady and your children. And let's say they don't have any weapons on them. They have nothing but just themselves. And they look at you because you physically don't look like you can protect yourself. And so they try to move you out the way and all kinds of stuff like that. Are you strong enough to move them out the way, to pull your lady back behind you and keep them at a distance? Those are the questions you have to think about. That's protection. That's leadership. That's sacrifice. And if you can't do that, then that's a problem. That means that you spent more time trying to be gentle than you did trying to be strong. Let's change that narrative. And as men step away from their role as a protector, we see a lack of fatherless homes. We see a lack in spiritual leadership. And we just see a lack of physical presence in general from men. These are all areas where strength and protection have been removed from men, and that's a problem in society. I think that's some of the things that we know systemically that society wants is men to not be in the home, men to not be present. But thankfully, men are stepping up. Let me say that for sure. Men, millennials, we are killing the game when it comes to parenting and doing all those things. We're changing our babies' diapers. We're handling business as men, as fathers. We are present. And black man, we are there. So despite what the narrative is, what media is trying to push, and the bitter single moms who chose wrong men, black men, we are there and we are doing our thing when it comes to taking care of our children. So here is my call to men today. Stop being weak. This is your wake-up call. Let this be a wake-up call. Stop being weak. Stop being passive. And stop being spiritually asleep. War isn't optional. It's already happening. You can't live in this world and not see how much demonic activity in it's just happening. How much demonic influence is happening. Your children can open up their phones and they can have the P word right there. They can hop on X or Twitter and end up on an entire wrong side of Twitter and see nothing but the P word or corn. And so there's a problem. We have to be prepared. The war is already happening. And a lot of you men listening right now, if you made it this far, a lot of you know that you are not ready for this war right now. You have been passive. You have been sitting backwards and hoping that everything just works out. You look at your children and you just hope for the best. You have not been doing your job. And this is the call. This is the time for you to stop being weak, stop being a coward, stop being passive, and to step up and do your job as a man and protect. So let me help you out. What does it actually look like to be getting ready for the war that is already happening? How should you as a man be preparing for the war? The first thing is physical. You should be training your body. You should be exercising. You should be working out. You should be making sure you're putting the right things into your body. You have to take care of your physical body. Spending an hour a day is literally not spending an hour away from your family or your children. It's literally actually just giving you more time with them. It's putting you more in a position to where your family is seen as less of a threat. There are research studies that show that predators like child molesters and things of that nature, that predators actually go after children who either have no father around or the father looks weak and passive. So if you are one of those two, your children are already at a disadvantage. So physically get yourself into a gym, work out, learn some combat sports, go get you a gun and actually train with it. Stop being weak. The second one is mental. Control of your thoughts, control of your emotions. Go get therapy if you need it. Go get medication if you need that. But you need to be in a position where you are mentally and emotionally in control of yourself and disciplined in that reality. Controlling your thoughts, controlling what you consume and how it affects you. You have to be mentally prepared because life is not going to be easy for you. Life is going to be hard enough just because you're mad, just because you're trying to take care of your family, just because you got to pay bills. All these different things are going to happen. They're not stopping. And life is going to always be harder. So you have to be mentally ready and mentally strong enough to continue to fight even when things are rough, even when things are hard. Stop giving up, keep pressing forward, and get to work. The next one is sexually. You have to actually become sexually disciplined. You have to be in control of your lust. Listen, I struggled in this area for years, for decades, but this is something that even myself is continuing to work on today. And this is something that I want you to really be focused on. You cannot be fully walking in your purpose and in your calling if you are not in control of your lust. Right now, there are a lot of men who are losing everything because they're not in control of their lust, right? You think about Shannon Sharp. You think about all these different other people who are getting called out for SA and different things of that nature. It's because they're not in control of their lust. They're out here doing everything that they want to do, and it is just ruining them. And if you look through the Bible, it is literally sex that ruins a lot of strong men. You look at David, you look at Abraham, you just go down the list. It is always a lack of sexual discipline. So don't let that be you as well. And then spiritually, you want to be strong. You want to pray like you mean it. You want to have a time of the day where you just pray for yourself, pray for your goals, your purpose. You pray for your family, over your children. You pray over if you have a girlfriend. You pray over her. You pray over your wife. You pray over if you're married. You pray over your marriage. You pray over your business, your finances. You need to pray because right now we're in a world where prayer is seen as less than, but we need to actually step up and we need to pray more because we need to be covered by God's grace. Also, you want to definitely be spending time reading the scriptures. Use it as a weapon. Take one verse and just meditate on it throughout the week. Use that time and just meditate and let it just, just build you up on the inside. But take that time and spend some time in scripture. Man, I'm calling you into battle. Battle for your families. I am calling you to be present with your families, with your children. And this is something that I'm working on myself, learning how to put my phone down, turn my phone off, turn my phone upside down, and give my children my full attention. I'm calling you to be present in that way. I'm calling you to guard your home. Guard what your children are watching, what they're listening to. Know what's influencing them. You should be the biggest influence in your children's life. I'm calling you into the battleground of the lives of your children. If you're married, your wives. Get into the fight. I'm calling you to begin to have those hard conversations with your children. You should be talking about sex. You should be talking about porn. You should be talking about SA. You should be talking about abuse. You should be talking about drugs. You should be having these conversations at the dinner table, one-on-one with your children on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a daily basis, however much you choose that cadence to be. But you should be having these conversations. They should not be having these conversations at school without you there. What I mean is that the first time having these conversations shouldn't be with the teacher. It shouldn't be with friends or whatever it may be. These conversations should be happening with you because you are the man. You are the protector. You are going to war for them. You are in battle for them, and you will be held accountable. Silence is not protection. Engagement is. As you continue to battle for your children, model discipline. You have to live out the things that you say. If you getting up in the morning, one thing my children know is that I'm going to bed at a certain time because I wake up at a certain time. They know I'm working out every day because dad ain't rocking no dad bod. They know I'm training, I'm working hard. They know the things that I'm doing to make life better for them. They see the discipline. They know it. My child knows when she sees 9 o'clock come around, she said, Dad, it's your bedtime. You up past your bedtime. Because it's discipline. It's things that I have put into place, and I want them to also see those things. I want them to see me exercising and living healthy and making wise choices. My oldest, she tries to drink water, and because she sees me always drinking water and trying to stay healthy, she always tells me about when she's eating healthy and when she's making healthy choices. That's how we want our children to be. Teach your children self-control, responsibility, and courage as well. These are things that can also be demonstrated and should be demonstrated within inside the home first. Children don't need perfect fathers. They need present fathers, present men who are there and are always ready to be a listening, loving, caring, and gentle but firm ear for them. Go to battle for your purpose. Stop drifting. Stop numbing yourself. Stop waiting for permission. God didn't wire you for comfort. He wired you for responsibility. The responsibility to protect, to provide, to lead, to be the head of your home. Walk in that purpose. Get that business started. Get that promotion at work. Get your money up. Get your finances together. Take your family on vacation. Do those things. Walk in your calling, your kingdom purpose. Figure out what that is. Take time to really navigate and try to figure what that is. Your purpose is important, and you have to go to battle for it because the enemy doesn't want you walking in your purpose. So here's the last thing I'll say, or the last few things I'll say. A warrior is not reckless. A warrior is disciplined, accountable, and they're also grounded in faith. True masculinity, it protects, it serves, and it leads. It's also courageous and strong. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's obedience in the presence of fear. God didn't tell the men of Israel that going into battle would be easy. He told them not to be cowards. Today, I'm calling men back into the fight. Not with rage, not with ego, but with discipline, faith, and obedience. The question isn't whether there is a war. The question is, will you become the man God is calling you to be? Think about that throughout this week. If you enjoyed this, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're ready to become a warrior, definitely reach out. I have some things that I'm working on and planning out for men specifically. If you're trying to get in shape and you want a system and a program that helps you get in shape, I have a 16-week fitness program that helps you get into top fight shape. You also get accountability and other things that come along with that. So if these are things that you are interested in, definitely tap in. But support, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Grace and peace.